Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood night. She comes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
Los Angeles.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. It's time for another episode of Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, the show that gets you behind the scenes of the LA Galaxy and into the mind of soccer reporters and MLS experts. Your hosts for the day are Corner of the Galaxy's Josh Guesman and LA Times soccer reporter Kevin Baxter. Let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Coming to you on a Monday, February 23rd. LA Galaxy now 180 minutes into their 2026 season. We are going to get you caught up, being I was on vacation last time. So, glad everybody's back. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad it's also not like 5 degrees and snowing sideways. Always fun to visit the snow, never fun to stay too long, all right? So, we got a lot to get to. Sporting San Miguelito, the first leg of that. It's return legs coming up on Wednesday. We'll get you sort of prepared for that as much as we can. And, of course, the LA Galaxy. 1-1 draw as well with New York City in their MLS opener. Lots to talk about in that, especially the penalty and any of the behind-the-scenes stuff that we can bring you and talk to you. Now, filling in for Mr. Kevin Baxter, who is still in Milan, going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. Please welcome back. We're glad to have him from the Southern California News Group. It is Mr. Damian Calhoun. Damian, how you doing, buddy? Have you recovered from your soccer last night?
Yeah, sort of. It's sort of, that first game, you got to get over everything, deadline, and questions, and game stories. But it's good to be back. Good to kick off the 2026 season last night. Yeah,
it wasn't too bad. I'm sorry I missed it, so I'll be relying on you to tell me all about all that game atmosphere, all the good stuff that was at the stadium. We'll get you through all that. I mean, the big questions here, Damian, and we're going to start with some housekeeping to clean some stuff up so that way everybody knows where everything stands. But the big question is, can we, and I made a joke about it called drawing conclusions, the LA Galaxy 2 draws, both 1-1 draws, but drawing conclusions this early, is there anything that you have sort of decided in the first 180 minutes that you know now to be true with the LA Galaxy?
No.
Yeah, it's a correct answer.
Well, to be honest, I think they will be better defensively, I think. We would go into that more because that's sort of why the game ended in a draw the other Sunday night.
Right.
But you could tell with Guesman back there, there's a big presence back there. He showed calm in some tough situations. I also thought yesterday's game was
say it,
not must win, but an important game to start your season off, considering where you were last year, and to not get 3 points. I think it's a little down for them not to get 3 points, but to get a point and the whole grand scheme of things, it's okay, I guess, moving forward.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. You also said that last night's game was boring. I know. I saw there was a balloon on the field. I saw your story. You're like, this is the most exciting thing that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I stopped the video right before Gabriel Peck smashed the balloon.
Oh man,
so
that would have been
ended the balloon's life. Yeah.
That would have been Peck on balloon violence. It would have gone viral for sure. LA Galaxy players mauls balloon during game. No, so interesting stuff. Let's go over some housekeeping and get everybody sort of rolled into where we're at. So before the LA Galaxy even could play on Sunday, they had to be roster compliant. So we have 3 roster compliance moves here. The first one was the LA Galaxy have acquired a 2026 international roster slot from Nashville SC in exchange for $140,000 in 2026 general allocation money and $110,000 in 2027 general allocation money. Now, what it doesn't say in this is that's a 6-month international slot again. They now have 3 international slots that are, I think, expiring in June, Damian, which means that they are expecting that they have there's two things I think they're expecting. I think some of those is that they have some green cards they're expecting to get done this year, which would really, if all three of those hit, would really help the LA Galaxy out, if it is indeed three of them. The other part of that is that I think, and Will Kuntz talked about it to us in Coachella, is that it was really expensive to buy international slots, and I think he's hoping, or there could be a play to go into the summertime and buy one when somebody's like, well, we're not going to use it, and then maybe it's a little cheaper. But this was about $250,000 for 6 months, which would be a $500,000 roster slot. So that's things got real expensive real fast here for the LA Galaxy and everybody else who's trying to go ahead and get international roster slots. What do you think of the 6 month roster slots?
Yeah, it's like for MLS, it's like you either want the discovery rights of someone, or you want an international slot where you can hey, I got one for you. How much you willing to pay for it?
Right.
But yeah, I think there's I'm not sure which player it is, but there are some players that are nearing green card status, so maybe that help them out there. Maybe. By summer, maybe it's a move. Maybe somebody moves out. Maybe, who knows? I mean, I think the summer is pretty much, it's a ways away, and with the break and everything, with the window opening up, a lot of things could happen by then. Yeah,
it absolutely could. And then we go on just a little bit later. The LA Galaxy have acquired a 2026 international slot from Toronto FC through the 2026 season in exchange for $200,000 in 2026 general allocation money and $225,000 in 2027 general allocation money. So that one is a full year international roster slot on that one. So that's one you can sort of see. Now, the interesting thing I thought that I was sort of looking at was watching what Toronto was trying to do on the transfer market and thinking perhaps they don't need an international slot because maybe they got some American kid they're going to bring back over that seems to be hopping and rolling.
Yeah.
So I was sort of laughing a little bit at that one. So that is now. There was lots of speculation, and I apologize. I think I was driving when this was happening, and I couldn't. I was going like 80 miles an hour in the snow. So it's not a good time to be trying to explain international roster slots. But that does make the LA Galaxy roster compliant in terms of international slots because they needed 2 more. They got the 2. There is no like, hey, these slots. I saw a lot of speculation. People, Damian, were like, well, are they using it for somebody? Maybe Coutinho. Maybe they're going to bring in Coutinho. And it's like, no, this was just to make them roster compliant. If they went out and got another international player, like say Coutinho, then there was then maybe it could they'd have to go get another international slot or move somebody off in order to free one up. So that's that. So in terms of speculation of what's happening, that doesn't necessarily prove anything. It was just to be roster compliant for that time. I can, Damian, stop a little bit and just say something on the Coutinho news, which is, he left Vasco da Gama, and then also I think Vasco's fired their coach today too. Like there's a whole, there's a lot of turmoil down there.
Yeah, it's a Brazilian league. It's never a quiet day, right?
It doesn't seem like it. So that thing. There is some rumors that the LA Galaxy are interested in Coutinho, and I can say that there is some smoke to that. There's some smoke. Like somebody said, how much? Like, is this going to happen? And I don't know that, but it's not nothing. So it's there's a bunch of different things that could happen in that. I don't think that anything is imminent, nothing crazy, and I literally only know that I think that there's something to it. I just don't know what that is yet. So, talk about great reporting there. It's something. Just yeah. I don't know, Damian. I'm trying here.
That's life, man. That's part of the gig, right? It's always there's smoke, there's something, or there's nothing.
Or there's nothing. Yeah, I'd be happy to be like, hey, there's nothing to this and put it away. That's not the case. So there is something there. And after watching the LA Galaxy play in the last 2 games, maybe you're thinking they might need another midfielder somewhere in there. A lot of midfield injuries as well. So that's something we can talk about as we get a little bit further down the road. The last sort of housekeeping thing. Now, you have to understand the timeline of this is the LA Galaxy went down to play Sporting San Miguelito in the Concacaf Champions Cup, that first round. This was on Thursday, February 19th. The roster slots or the international slots were on the 20th. And then in this game, the starting lineup is important, is that Christian Ramirez and Nascimento were starting both up top, but mostly we'll focus on Christian Ramirez. He plays in that game. And then the LA Galaxy go out on, I believe it was on the 20th or the 21st. Which day was it? Was this 20th?
21st, I believe, Saturday.
It was. So on the 21st, The LA Galaxy went ahead, and this is important, and the wording's important. I won't quote it, but I know the important words here, so I will point them out to you. Is the LA Galaxy put Christian Ramirez on waivers and then bought out his contract. Do not get confused by putting it on waivers. I know I saw the Discord was very confused, Damian. They're like, well, they put it on waivers, which means the Galaxy are responsible for salary, blah, blah, blah. The buyout of the contract relieves the LA Galaxy of Christian Ramirez's cap hit / salary. But it does mean that basically they paid him all his money. I don't know how the waivers work after that, because this happened. This is the first time I've sort of seen it happen in that order, which is waivers and then buyout. We've seen straight up buyouts, right? I think Zonka was a mutual termination. Is that
mutual termination? I think that's a buyout, right?
I thought there was too, but as soon as I said it, I go, didn't they say mutual? Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. We'll see if I can look it up that fast. No, I can't. Apparently. I'm waiting.
Let me see if I can look it up. This is great podcast radio.
It's one of those things. I was fine with it beforehand, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's a second buyout. Do you have it?
We have mutually agreed to part ways with Zonka. That was
That's not a buyout.
The Twitter post. I don't have the official press release. See if my Gmail wants to work tonight.
It's really this. I know people are like, who cares? It's really important that you get the wording right on it. But basically what I think is that I don't think that was a buyout. It was mutual termination, which means the Galaxy could still buy out another contract if they needed to, because you're allowed to buy out two. And I don't know of any other ones that have sort of come there and done that. LA Galaxy international slot. Dude, it's so like far away. I don't know. You look while I talk for a little bit.
I can't find it on my email app on my phone, but
yeah,
it's weird.
I think it's a mutual termination. If for some reason we find that it's not and it was a second buyout, basically the only real argument here is whether or not the LA Galaxy can buy out another contract if they needed to. But they bought out Christian Ramirez's contract, and this is the important part about that is they got the salary cap relief, and so they don't have that hit. He still gets paid all his money for this year, but they bought him out. It costs nothing against the cap now, basically Christian Ramirez, and per Tom Bogert, and I think we have some reporting that I've also heard, sort of as a nod, is that this was roster compliance move, and that means basically that the LA Galaxy, in order to be roster compliant, which probably includes salary cap and everything else that goes into it, needed to relieve some money off of their payroll, and it was Christian Ramirez in this case. I don't know what his new contract was, because remember, this is sort of the crazy thing for me, Damian. I think you and I were starting after the end of the season. We were sort of like, Christian Ramirez is probably not going to be back. And then we got to media day, and they announced that Christian Ramirez was back. And basically, I believe there was a deal basically for Christian Ramirez to come to the LA Galaxy was to give him basically another year on his contract whenever he came. So they announced that at the end. I don't know what to think of this. I'll say this. And maybe this sounds like I'm double speaking, Damian, and you can certainly fill in if you want to as well. I was looking forward to a Christian Ramirez sort of redemption tour this year, because I thought he had a giant chip on his shoulder from last year. He didn't like... I don't think he liked the way that... Certainly, I know he didn't like the way I talked about him. And that was not... I wasn't trying to be mean, but Greg Vanny consistently called him not mobile enough. And it was sort of like one of those, I'm like, okay, that's the whole thing. And then he comes back. I think there was a lot of big question mark around the LA Galaxy too, Damian, is that you don't score that many goals, and then you go back and you bring 2/3 of the guys back that didn't score you enough goals. Now, you got Joao Klaus, who I think is going to certainly help in that position. But, Nascimento back, Ramirez back, it felt like there wasn't enough change there. Were you surprised to see him even back this year? And then were you surprised to see him cut?
I was surprised he was back this year. Wasn't surprised that he was cut because of the fact that you brought in Klaus, and then you brought back Nascimento for, I guess until June at least, possibly. But I don't remember the Galaxy carrying three forwards. Well, last year they had three, but with Barry and Ramirez and Nascimento. But you sort of felt with Klaus coming in as the DP, Nascimento under him, I think 2 was what they were gonna look at, going forward. So now we'll see. I was also looking forward to like a big, bounce back, year, one of those coming in, chip on shoulder years where he's just gonna, dominate and get what he had four or five goals last year, maybe, bang in like 7 or 8 this year, maybe.
Yeah. Well, he was hot early last year, right? He was one of the he was one of the guys who was
He's only one, right?
okay, yeah. Now none of those ended up being games they won, which is hysterical. By the way, I would like to point out that the Galaxy already have 1 point in Major League Soccer, and it took them 6 games to get a point last time. So I think they're on a pretty good standing, and we'll talk about that more. But that's on the Christian Ramirez. I will tell you this: I have so much respect for the game that Christian Ramirez plays. He's an ultra competitor whenever it comes to those things. I think he would have battled. He would have had tough time finding minutes, Damian.
Yeah.
Although you see that he played, against Sporting San Miguelito, and that type of thing. It just, I feel like this decision should have been made last year. But having said that, it doesn't cost the LA Galaxy any money in terms of cap space or anything like that. It's just out of Uncle Phil's pockets that they still have to pay Christian Ramirez because he gets his full payment. He's puts on waiver now. He's on waivers now, which means that if nobody picks him up off of waivers, that then he becomes a free agent. So we can sort of watch that. There were lots of Minnesota fans in the announcement being like, "Come back to Minnesota," or Columbus fans, "Come back to Columbus." The whole deal. So
I think Tom Bogert might have had something early this year about there was something maybe last year that Minnesota was trying to bring him back or something. I'm not sure if it was Tom or not, but I saw it somewhere online. Maybe he does end up in Minnesota.
Yeah, it could very well could have been, but the big deal here is that he is not on the roster. He's released. That's done, and this feels like the type of move that you make when you're not roster compliant. I don't know if the international slots that they were having to buy at much higher prices than I thought they were ended up. I don't know how close they end up. Maybe they were $150,000 over, and they're like, we got to get rid of Christian Ramirez, and that buys you some more room. But even if you're $1 over, your roster's non-compliant, so you have to do something in that whole thing. I know that there's more payments coming for Johnny Perez. Nashville still owes, I believe, the LA Galaxy money, and that's coming later this year. So, I feel like the Galaxy will get more general allocation money coming a little bit later. That'll be able to put some stuff in there. There's also possibly the sell-on clause that we talked, or the sell-on percentage from Johnny Perez as well, which is like another $150,000 or something like that. It's not a super big amount, but they can do that as well. It's just at this moment, whenever the clock strikes midnight, the LA Galaxy had to be roster compliant. And to all the information that I've seen and people I've talked to, that is what is the case here, is that the Galaxy were not roster compliant, and Christian Ramirez helped them be roster compliant. So a little sacrifice there on the altar of the LA Galaxy. So it's crazy to me, though. It feels like, to me, Damian, it feels like an unforced error, right? Because I really didn't see it. Now, if you had a deal that basically was in writing that Christian Ramirez gets to have another year, then there's nothing you could do, and then it's not an unforced error. You thought you were going to be able to bring him in for 2 years, and it didn't happen. But if there was a choice involved in that, there was nothing that I saw last year that made you say, "Oh yeah, Christian Ramirez should come back." That being said, I think he's a really good player. I think he can play. I think he still can score goals. It just didn't work for the LA Galaxy, and now I'm kind of upset that you don't get to see that like redemption. I like guys who got chips on their shoulder and want to show it, So it's certainly an interesting little turn there, at least for me. But close the book on Christian Ramirez and the LA Galaxy now, and that's it. The really crazy thing here, Damian, is that he started in this 1-1 draw. Yeah. So what did you think of this game? The LA Galaxy traveling 3,300 miles to get down to Panama. That's a long flight, let me just tell you. That's not something you want to be trapped in the whole time. And then the LA Galaxy roll out what can be sort of suggested as, a mix of an A and B lineup. There were actually way more starters in here than I thought there were going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you the starting lineups for everybody who's listening. Just to remind you, J.C. Marcinkowski, which was an interesting start there. You had Mauricio Cuevas, you had Jakub Glesnes, Maya Yoshida, John Nelson. In the midfield is Gabriel Peck, Justin Hack, Edwin Cerrillo, and Joseph Paintzel. And then, of course, you had Christian Ramirez and Nascimento. So that was an interesting little 4-4-2 of some sort in there. I know it rotated around a little bit. the fact the Galaxy had the ball for so much was certainly pretty nuts in this game. But watching them get their goal in the 37th minute, watching the LA Galaxy get a goal in the 68th minute, watching Sporting San Miguelito without having the ball for very much in the 37th minute score a goal. It was sort of all the nightmare scenarios that I think everybody had of going down to Panama and doing it. We knew the game would be tough. I think when you and I talked, we were saying like 2-1 would probably be a good score to go down there. We're pretty close at 1-1. Did the Galaxy accomplish what they needed to get accomplished?
I guess in the grand scheme of things, yeah. I mean, 1-1, the tie's still alive coming back home. But there was a chance there they could have got a goal early. I think it was like something on the doorstep. Maybe 3-4 guys had a chance to put the ball in. Neither one could do it. And then a minute later, long ball over, unmarked guy bangs in a nice header that Marcel Kelsey not much he could do on that ball. And now you're 1-0, you're thinking, oh shoot, I mean 1-0 on the road, that's going to feed them momentum. I mean, the home team looking for 2, but luckily for the Galaxy, they got one late in the second half there. So 1-1, I guess it's fair. I guess most fans were like, man, every other MLS team is killing all these Central American teams. But the Galaxy had a fight on their hands, and they have a fight coming back home on Wednesday. Yeah.
By the way, it would be a disservice to Sporting to say that they didn't deserve to have that result. Right? That 1-1 was a really, really difficult game that they played, and when you get into the situations of quote unquote the nobodies or the smaller teams, and let's not call them a nobody because they played a really smart game. It was really fun to sort of see them move. I liked their fluidity on whenever they would go forward. And again, it's a lot low block counter, low block counter, low block counter, and they caught the LA Galaxy. That goal that was given up. This is going to be something that I highlight because I've always sort of felt this way, but watching this game, I felt it even more. Cuevas is a problem defensively, and you can say that was Cerrillo's guy who ghosted in from the center and sort of. But when a guy gets back behind your left back or your right back, in that situation, Cuevas has to follow the guy into the middle because he had a guy that was moving into the middle. But you have to switch that off, and somebody has to know that somebody's on that back post. And if it's going to be anybody, Cerrillo can drop into the center a lot faster than Cuevas can sort of bounce out and catch the guy who's running in late. Cerrillo's not going to be the guy who follows guys all the way out there that far. So those two have to figure that out. But Mauricio Cuevas is the best crosser on the LA Galaxy. It's the guy you want to take in corner kicks. It's the guy you want to take, sort of these wide free kicks because he has such a good cross and he can drop it on people, Damian. But for me, watching him defensively is still the big question mark. And in that case, I feel like that's his guy. I know the announcer said it was Cerrillo. I feel like that is going to be Cuevas' guy, and you got to keep him out there, and that's a question mark for me. What else did you see from this team or on Cuevas or any of the guys you saw playing?
Yeah, I think Cuevas is the good definition of an attacking outside back, right? I think he still has to learn some of the nuances defensively that he's still working through and learning through. To 1-0 down on the road. Okay, now, but they did fight back. They did get something out of the game. They brought on Klaus. He played a role in the goal there. But I just thought they had the ball for so much. Mm-hmm. There needed to be something quicker. I didn't think it was quicker enough. The ball was moving fast enough. Just watching the game then. But then again, it was their first game, competitive game, real game, not a scrimmage, not a closed door scrimmage, whatever. It was their first game against kicking off the season, but there's something, just the fluidity, things were just not moving as quick as I thought it would in that game there.
It almost moves you into like Sunday's game against New York City, and still, again, there's something missing in like the fluidity. There's something missing about the next gear. And by the way, two completely different games where the Galaxy had all the possession against Sporting down in Panama. They had no possession against New York City. Yeah. Like there's differences there, but there's also some similarities in that something isn't quite right in the game state, right? Like, especially whenever you're talking about how Greg Vanny likes to play, which we talk about. I heard that the grass was nice and long and sticky I knew it would be. I was like, 100%, man. You want to slow down a quick LA Galaxy team? Make the grass tall because they pass the ball so much. You can slow them down just by doing that, right? So I know people think I'm crazy. like tall, sticky grass will nullify this LA Galaxy team on many different fronts, or it makes it harder for them to do the things that they're supposed to do, right? So, and that's what you want to do if you're an opponent, is make it more difficult for the other guys. So I tip my cap to the long grass and everything else that happens down there. I'll tell you a funny story is, so I had driven up. I was in the mountains. I went up to Mammoth, so it was like snowing sideways when I got up there, the whole deal. So that Thursday night, it's still snowing. It's like pumping. I think they got another 12 to 14 inches that night. So we woke up to snow everywhere. And it was like, I think it got to be down to like -2 that night or something like that. It was really cold. Yeah, it was too cold, David.
That's nasty weather.
No, I stayed inside. It was nice and warm. And so I was watching this game on my phone, and I'm watching my game. I get a text message from a former Galaxy player, and it was like, what do you think of the game so far? And I'm like, I'd like to see something from the midfield. Any creation from the midfield would be great, because the Galaxy had all this possession. They were passing out. Show me something from the midfield. And this Galaxy player goes, need to bring in Sanabria and Klaus, right? And who are the next two subs that, like, literally 5 minutes later, Vanny goes to the bench and it's Sanabria and Klaus. And for what it's worth, I thought Sanabria and Klaus did exactly what they were supposed to do. They got into that game, they caused some problems, they created a little bit, and that sort of left their ability to come back and get the goal against Sporting. So I think we're starting to see that if you want to create and you want to be creative, Klaus is going to be a big part of that. And I think, to me, I think Sanabria is going to be a big part of that as well. And so, the Galaxy get the goal, rightfully deserved. They get out of there with 1-1. Listen, Greg Vanny will say this, and I think it's probably true, although if you look at some of the other scores that some other MLS teams are putting up in CCL, or CCC, I still want to call it CCL. It was better as CCL. But in Concacaf Champions Cup, you look at some of the other scores, San Diego, LAFC putting up big numbers. I think LAFC was 5-0, and we already saw San Diego advance past Pumas and did it in a fairly convincing fashion. It's like, are the Galaxy not getting out of first gear for me? And I feel that after watching New York City, that it feels like they're still a little bit, undermanned in the midfield on the creative side to really start to open things up. So you get the job, quote unquote, done. Sporting now has to come in on Wednesday night, Damian, and they have to score a goal in order for anything to happen. So if they don't score, the Galaxy win because they have the away goal tiebreaker there, which is, it's really important. That means that Sporting's going to have to open up and try to score more, which right now it feels like the LA Galaxy, a more defensive team, probably is in the Galaxy's favor that Sporting has to open up and try to score more, because the Galaxy have a pretty stout defense and all those things that sort of worked for that in that manner. So do you feel confident going into Wednesday's game? And again, I think that's an 8:30 p.m. start time, if I remember correct. Damian, how are we going to stay up so late?
I have no idea, man. Remember, we had those 8:45s last year for Leagues Cup.
We did like 9:15 for Leagues Cup. It was like the latest
like that,
one. Yeah, that's nuts. This should never be okay.
Pretty crazy.
8:30 by the way. 8:30. Fox Sports 2, TUDN, One Soccer, Concacaf Go. Some of those things I've never heard of. That's okay. But that's what you can see. So 8:30, which means 8:37. 8:42 somewhere in there is going to be kickoff. So buckle up. It's going to be late. But going to that, what do you think of the game that the Galaxy have to play against Sporting San Miguelito here in the second leg?
Yeah, if you're running out pack and pencil again, I mean, they're gonna have to break through, try and break through, and then, like I said, coming in here, they're gonna have to try and score. That should open things up for the Galaxy. Sort of give them some life a little bit. The field's wider than it was in Panama. The grass has been long, so yeah. As long as they recover from Sunday, I think that they're going to be confident coming in Wednesday, to get a goal, get 2 goals, and advance on. Because I think this is the first must-win game of the season here. Yeah. And I think they're going to be confident coming home, and getting some out of it and moving on.
Technically, not a must-win game, Damian. All they have to do is draw that game. All they have to do is draw that game.
Must-wins. Everything's must-win.
That's right.
Everything's must-win.
That's what I hear. Avila, by the way, says $2 super chat. If the G's crash out of the CCC on Wednesday, is Vanny in trouble? Yeah, I mean, Vanny's going to be in trouble if the Galaxy don't start getting results. So, yeah. Listen, he doesn't get fired because they get knocked out against Panama. but it will certainly ratchet up the heat. And by the way, I can see it's funny because we're going to shift gears here in a second, Damian. I'm with you. I think the Galaxy should be able to handle business at home. That takes them against a Jamaican team who, again, we talked about the Galaxy should be favorited over. That they should get through that as well. None of that is scary to me. It's just that sort of seems the way it has to be. Now, San Miguelito has to travel the 3,300 miles and come all the way up. So, it's gonna.
I heard that was a 6.5 hour flight.
Oh man, that's so long. That's so long.
Sounds like a horrible flight.
That's a horrible. It was hot and humid too. Listen, I'm not like using those as an excuse for the Galaxy. They should have won that game. There's no problem. But like you're in the winter time here. It's like you're like, oh man. By the way, I would just like to once again appreciate the weather in Southern California. Having went to Northern California and got snowed on. So I wanted to go. I like to ski. I'm one of those guys. So the snow was cool. I didn't get to ski because I was taking my youngin with me. We got to go tubing, Damian, at the main tube park there in Mammoth. Thing goes like 15, 20 miles an hour. Swear to God. We went down the first time and like my kid had never done anything like that before, right? He's 6. And so we go down there and he doesn't make a sound as we go down, like 20 miles an hour down this thing. And like they spin you too. So you're spinning and you're going down. He doesn't make a sound. I'm like, oh man, I'm in trouble. I just paid $140 to go tubing. And this kid is going to be like, I'm done right now. The whole deal. And so we get down to the bottom and he goes, and I go, was that fun? He goes, let's do it again. And I'm like, all right, good. We're good. Okay. I was nervous there.
That's a test.
But the weather was like, it was clear that day. It was nice. It was like 25 degrees, whole deal. I just would like to appreciate the Southern California weather because I got tired of putting on so many layers of clothing to go outside to do anything. So I can only imagine that you're here in Southern California wintertime, which is like mild and not really that humid, and you're just enjoying it. And then you go down to Panama where it's probably like 75, 78 degrees, 80 degrees, which is still better than going there in the summertime or anything, right?
Yeah, of course.
But you go down there, it's like 80 degrees and humid, and it's just like, oh, man. I don't even like when the temperature changes more than 10 degrees, Damian. And I feel like it affects my job. I mean,
Yeah, it's Sunday night, I left my jacket at home. So by 6 o'clock, I was like, oh, no, it's getting cold.
No, you had to cuddle with Scott French. That's what you had to do. No, you would rather freeze. Okay.
Just not thinking about it.
Yeah, that's a horrible idea. So now we move on to the game now against New York City. One of the things that the LA Galaxy were hyping up was the big video board. The video board, Damian, did you enjoy the video board?
Looked nice. Very nice.
How the layout? What was like real different from your view?
They had sort of in-game stats. Look up there. You can see possession stats up there. Total shots was up there as well, and then just the normal day of game stuff where the fans on the screen and everything. But you can really tell. You can tell the improvement. From last year to this year.
I see. That's exciting. The LA Galaxy, I've now started our travel videos. Well, the LA Galaxy did have to travel to the stadium. Some of the guys live in Manhattan Beach, Damian. So let's travel from Manhattan Beach all the way up to Dignity Health Sports Park, where the LA Galaxy got to take on New York City. By the way, I felt that this was a quick route. These used all real roads, so they're 100%. So there you go. Somebody, if it was Michael Ciani, he could have been driving a sports car up that route from Manhattan Beach. That was a Michael Ciani special there. So 10.7 miles to travel for the LA Galaxy, much better and similar to what they'll do on Wednesday night and then Saturday night coming up as well. So we got the travel video in there as well. Now, the LA Galaxy 1-1 draw with New York City. I want to get to this. The only reason I'm going to show you this graphic is because last week, Damian, I was like, you cannot show the graphics the way that you did in numerical order. People don't know where they're going, the whole deal. I don't know if I had any effect on this or if somebody was just like, this would be a much better way. This is an acceptable form of a lineup. Goalkeeper, back there for Mitrovic. Aude, you have, and by the way, back to front, left to right, baby, all the way through. That's how it needs to be done, all right? I would like it better if there was a field, Damian, and they showed the actual positions, but I can live with this. This is acceptable forms of showing lineups. I know people think I'm crazy. I just, if you have people who don't know the game, give them an idea of where these guys are. Yeah. And so this makes perfect sense to me. So I'm there. 4-3-3 set up, goalkeeper, Mitrovic. Thank you very much. Excellent job, LA Galaxy. Excellent job. That's a win. That's a W on the lineups for it. Just keep this all year. You will not hear me complain. You change it once, I will complain. I'm just letting you know. I'm right there. There's no, Damian, you don't get any love here. Like, there's not any leeway. You change it once, I will complain immediately. That's how it'll go. But
change it once, and we're all Scott French.
We'll get angry. We'll do it. The 1-1 game here with the LA Galaxy New York City starting lineup had Mitrovic in the back, and then Aude, Garcus, Guesman, and Yamane. You had Sanabria, Royce, and Hack in the middle. You have Joseph Paintsill, João Klaus, and then Gabriel Peck in that top three. This was... You and I were sort of talking about it. It's like such a different game. You had the LA Galaxy having all the possession, not really doing that much with it in Panama. You take them to New York City, and the LA Galaxy have almost no possession, and didn't have a ton of creativity. But neither did New York City, for that matter. Defense was probably better in the New York City game than it was in the Panama game. There's a whole bunch of things that you look at here, and you're sort of saying, are these the same teams? And how do they play? Because really, you got two different sides of the coin on this one. And the only thing I can think of is that with the LA Galaxy scoring in the second minute with João Klaus and the back heel from Marco Royce, Joseph Paintsill stealing the ball on the left-hand side, getting into Marco Royce with a little chop back heel right to Klaus, who got to the ball first, fired across, was able to score. So you get it in the second minute. We know last year that when the LA Galaxy actually got a lead, that they would give up a lot of the ball, right? They wouldn't necessarily hold the ball and hold the possession and do all the things that they did. I'm wondering if that's what happened in the New York City game, because being it happened so early, it was almost like, oh, okay, the Galaxy are going to give up the ball. You and I were talking about this before. What did you expect to happen after João Klaus scored?
I thought Foot was on the pedal. Great crowd. I mean, the place was jumping. You had a full riot squad area was full. I mean, everybody was full. It was hype. It was like it was a home opener. You felt the energy. Second minute, you felt it, and then after that, you didn't feel anything. It's just like, oh boy, here we go. It turned into it was a grind fest from then on out. Greg talked about how that group hadn't really played together that much. They didn't really work, use the ball, didn't have the ball, didn't really control it. New York would give them the ball, Galaxy give it right back. That was sort of, the whole first half. There was a shot late. I think Peck had it across. And Matt Freeze came up with a great save. But that goes in, you're 2-0 going into halftime. I think that changes the game big time in the second half. I mean, New York have to open up, and maybe you can, get on a counter and get a third goal, get out of there 3-0, whatever. But it never happened. And then once you leave the team around, something's crazy is going to happen. And then something crazy happened.
Here's the deal on this game, and it's an interesting one. Certainly from watching, I got home basically right as the game started. I think I listened to it in the car for the first 5-6 minutes. So I did hear the goal and then went back and watched it and saw that. And then I got to sit and watch it while I was unloading the car too. But I was able to watch a lot of the game in just the terms of the LA Galaxy controlling the defensive side. And that's something I don't think we've seen. There's a stat, it's been told many times, but the only shot on goal for New York City was a penalty kick. We'll talk about the penalty kick here in a second. New York City did outshoot the LA Galaxy. Didn't matter. It wasn't that dangerous. Here's the crazy thing is expected goals at 0.4 for the LA Galaxy and 1.3. Well, they got a penalty kick in there, so we know that's 0.7. So subtract 0.7 for the 1.3, it's 0.6. So really, the expected goals were 0.6 to 0.4 minus the penalty kick. Which shows me that neither team knew how to score or knew how to create chances. And I think one is that the Galaxy did a great job of establishing the defensive line. New York City couldn't play through them. Glesnes, I thought, was exactly... It's so nice to see a defender back there, and you sort of said it at the beginning, but calm on the ball, doesn't make big mistakes. I will say that I thought he absolutely created the penalty kick in the last moments of that game against New York City whenever he cleaned out, and I forget who, I think it was Parks in the center of that. I thought that was a stone cold penalty all day long. Now, after the 65th minute penalty to Garcus, maybe it was a makeup call, and they're just like, I don't want to get in trouble anymore, because there's a whole thing on the Garcus thing, which we'll get to in a second. But I really like Guesman in there. I thought Yamane was really good on his side. I thought Garcus, for the most part, was good. In the first half, Greg wanted Garcus to go out and attack more, and we sort of talked about that, I think, in the preseason, where Garcus would go out and hunt and get something. That's how he picks up his first yellow card. It was a stupid yellow card, and it's probably the one that cost him more than the other one, because the other one's a little more of a question mark, certainly. But he's yellow carded. He gets it in the first half. I thought he was okay. I thought Sanabria was somebody everybody wanted to watch, and I thought he was fairly good. I don't think anybody had a great game against New York City. That being said, I thought Sanabria was good. He was a creator whenever he had a chance. Marco Royce can still create a little bit, and did so a little bit. There was not that much creation, but I thought Sanabria is one of those guys we were sort of watching to see how he would do. I thought Hack was a little disappointing. Gave up the ball a whole bunch of times in the center of the midfield, and sort of did it. So I'm watching these guys progress, but I thought the defense was really stout. Mitrovic didn't have to make a save. He tried to make one on the penalty kick, but other than that, that was it. There was no other shots on target. The LA Galaxy locked down New York City, who I think is fairly good. Now, I think they were inept on the offense. I think the LA Galaxy were inept on the offense, and the XG sort of plays that out, right? That neither team really took control of that. I will lean more to the LA Galaxy's defense causing problems for New York City, whereas I thought the LA Galaxy caused their own problems whenever they were on the attacking side. So just sort of a balance for me there. Damian, who do you look at on this team that you go, yeah, that guy played good, in this end, and who sort of bears responsibility for the 1-1?
Well, I like that. I think Guesman was the strongest piece back there on the back line. Sanabria earlier, I thought he had a couple times where he lost the ball too, that sort of turned into counters, but didn't really go anywhere. Like I said, nobody was really great or on their A game. I think the one goal that leads to the goal, it's Garcus, I guess, gets caught looking. That leads to a foul. That leads to a video review, and that leads to the penalty. So it's
just so you know, no foul was called. Right? Let's be clear. There was no foul called on that play, and that's important because we're going to go over the subject. You are talking, by the way. We are 2/3 of the LA Galaxy pool reporters right here. It's you, me, and Scott, I believe.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't there, but whenever it happened, I called Damian up, and I'm like, I was watching it on TV. I'm like, hey, are you going to do a pool reporter question? He's like, yeah, I already requested it. I'm like, okay, cool. I go, here, I'm going to send you what I would say. So I texted you over what I was going to say, the whole deal. And then I think you were having like some technical difficulties opening the link or whatever. So
yeah, the link wouldn't work on my computer for, I don't know why. But
yeah, you sent it over to me. So then I was like, cool, I'm at home doing the pool reporter questions. Which is fine. Like I said, it's one of the things that I actually enjoy doing. It's an important part of what we do. I mean, Damian and I sit rather close to each other. Scott's usually pretty close. As soon as something happens that's controversial, we'll go through and be like, I think we need an explanation on that. Then we usually figure it out what it is. So Garcus is going with, I think Nico Fernandez is who he was guarding, right? So Fernandez gets in behind Garcus. Garcus goes, now there's some contact before, and then Garcus goes down, and then there may be some contact afterwards. Here's the big deal: it was Victor Rivas, right? Yeah, Victor.
Yeah, I call him Martin. Yeah, Victor Rivas.
Yeah, Victor. I think Victor Rivas was the official on the field. He did not call foul. It was inside the penalty box. I thought in live action watching it, going, oh yeah, foul, 100%, no problem. But he didn't call it one. So let's go over the rules for VAR. Clear and obvious error is what it is. And so they went through that process. It took them a long time to go through that. Now, there's other considerations you always have to remember. There could have been an offside consideration that they had to clear. There could have been other buildups to that could have been a foul somewhere, and so you have to clear that as well. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and I'm fine with that. The big deal for me was that, again, it wasn't called a foul on the field. So it was Edvin Jurasevich was the VAR official, and he basically finally called over Rivas and said, hey, you need to take a look at this. So he takes a look at it. Now, we had been watching the replay, and I know you guys probably were in the press box watching it too. We had been watching the replay. I watched it. I was watching MLS's coverage on TV. So we were watching that, and my whole problem was that there are several indications that there might be some fouls. One is that Nico Fernandez hits Garcus in the chest / chin area with a forearm before there's any other contact. So that's a question mark. So, how much do the referees take that into account? And then when they fall to the ground, I don't think that there is any conclusive evidence that Garcus ever touches him. There's definitely indications that they could, but it's either blocked by Garcus's falling or, there's never that. Here's the point of the foul. All right. Yep. And so my question that I submitted, and Damian knew what this question was this. In the 65th minute, Garcus was ruled to have fouled Fernandez in the penalty box after a VAR review. What specifically in the replay was clear and obvious that led to the penalty and the second yellow for Garcus? And what, if any, weight was given to Fernandez initiating the contact with his arm to Garcus's chest, chin, face prior to both parties going to the ground? Damian, I think that's a pretty good question. I think there's specifics in there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, everybody's there. This is the response. After review, LA Galaxy number 25, Garcus committed the foul on New York City FC number 7, Nico, in the penalty area while challenging for the ball, which denied an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. There was no foul contact prior. So basically they're saying, people were saying, well, what about the arm to Garcus's thing? They're saying there was no foul prior. So that means they don't consider that a foul. So you can get a little bit of information for that. It does not call out where the foul is, though. Yeah. And that's the problem, because the video isn't clear where the foul is. And so how can they be clear where the foul is? And this is giving them an opportunity to explain themselves, to say, hey, because if you notice, whenever Rivas went to the microphone, we heard like the first two words and then it cut out, right? So
yeah, it cut out.
Yeah, so we didn't get that explanation either, right? So I am a big proponent of this pool reporter process, Damian, and you know that. I'm thinking I'm always want to give people a chance, and I try to be as professional as I possibly can with it, and I am very serious about this. The fact that the referees can't take 5 minutes to answer a question that changed the face of the game is something that MLS needs to step in and rectify. It's pro. I can talk to pro people. I asked for more clarification. I can't share that with you. But what I can tell you is that this is a non-answer, and non-answers are BS. Because this doesn't give anybody any clarification on really the entire process. And then it makes us say, why even ask the question? Because we're going to get answers like this, right? And how many times do we say we're going to ask the question and it's just going to be crappy? I don't know. That's my view of it, is that's not a correct answer. That's not answering the question that we asked, and we asked it in a way that would allow the referees to say, no, there was a foul. It was Garcus and his chest hit this person, and then they fell down, and that's what it was, and that's where we called the foul. And there was nothing from that. That's my rant for the 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a question that I have, because I'm the pool reporter for Angel City games. It's like, do I want to submit this and just get the same answer? Yeah, there was a foul there. Okay, but it's frustrating. I guess they're still trying to work. They're still working on the communication side of things, pro and the reporters. So let's give them a break as well. It's the first game, busy week, but let's see if they can improve their communication skills going forward here.
Well, again, I want you to explain things. We once had there was a foul in Colorado. Rolf Felcher was fouled by, I think it was the goalkeeper or something. Rolf Felcher. Yeah, I know, pulling it out. And there was a referee there, and we were like, how did you not call that a penalty, right? Like, he got kicked in the midsection. And basically the argument was, I think it was from Fotis Bazakos. Is that the referee? I'm sure I'm
Fotis. I don't know his last name.
Yeah, I can't rember who, but he gave us an answer that basically said, well, the way that I saw it was that Rolf Felcher initiated the contact and the whole deal. Now I watched that video, and he's the only one who ever thought that was that case, right? But you at least know what they're thinking, and you're like, okay, well, then as a fan, you could say, well, that's wrong, but at least I know why you said that. Like now you've explained it. And it puts it to bed, because you're like, well, okay, nothing to do here. That answer doesn't do anything. And it makes me upset. And so, hey, hopefully we get better ones, but I don't care. I don't care if we never get good answers. I will keep submitting questions because I think that that's the fair thing to do, is give them a chance to explain themselves. So, again, from where I saw it, Damian looked like a cold stone. In actual time, I'm like, penalty, easy penalty, the whole deal. There was just nothing in the video to me that then showed me that there was a clear and obvious error to overturn it. And that's where I struggle to understand how that call was made. But Garcus, for his part, and Damian, you and I have talked about, he's dangerous. What do you think of Garcus in terms of just how he plays and whether he's worth the risk sometimes? Because I feel like sometimes he's not. What do you think?
I think he's still young. I think you have Glasses or Yoshida, who's like the calm, stable center back, and and Garcus is like, just the guy who runs everywhere, uses his speed and tracks everybody down. Sometimes that hurts the Galaxy, as it did Sunday, but I think he's worth the risk. It's just reining that in a little bit. Certain times, use your aggressiveness at certain times. Well, I mean, sure, he has a coaching staff with some good defenders, with Vanny and Calif in there. So I mean, and then you got Glasses and Yoshida there as well, veteran center back presence. I think they'll get them turned around here a little bit. But yeah, when it hurts the Galaxy, it hurts them big, and that would happen Sunday.
Yeah, you could see that. I was questioning it as I was sitting at home watching the game. I was questioning about leaving Garcus out there. Once he gets a yellow card, to me, he's one of those guys who you're like, hey, I hope we get to halftime because I'm pulling you because I can't trust you. I think that's harsh on a kid. I think he can be better, but he has to. I mean, he's now suspended for the next game, right? So he doesn't get to play against Charlotte coming up this weekend. He can play in Concacaf. I believe, but he can't play against Charlotte. So I would imagine you see him against Sporting on Wednesday night. So I actually asked Greg Vanny afterwards. I said, did you ever consider pulling him? And he said, we actually had Maya standing right next to me, ready to go in for him. I just needed one more stoppage, and it was happening. So yeah, unfortunately, the time was timing. I told Maya within 15 minutes or less he was going in. Greg sort of continued on that a little bit. I'll paraphrase, saying that he wasn't so much concerned about the yellow card as he was that he started to look tired and that he wasn't chasing guys. And that whenever they asked him in the first half, they said you can be more aggressive. In the second half, said we want you to stay back more. That he doesn't see those runs as well whenever he stays back, and he doesn't cover them as well whenever he's playing in like a pure defender role instead of the sort of the destroyer role. That's where I think he flourishes, Damian, is destroyer. A lot like Sanabria too, right? Sanabria had some good tackles across the middle too. I mean, talk about a guy who broke his collarbone, never really settled in last year in the whole deal. I still think there was some big steps forward for him there. So for me, Garcus is a little bit of a wild card. I like him in these defensive lineups because his speed is such a important part of being able to recover. But Glesnes and Yoshida is not horrible either. And getting Garcus off the field whenever he has a yellow card, I would question that. I would suggest that Greg Vanny, in hindsight, might pull the trigger a little earlier on getting Garcus off the field when he has a yellow card. I just feel like there's some trust lost, especially in that. And I don't know that we'll ever know whether or not the LA Galaxy would be able to finish out that game, but they certainly looked like they were capable of finishing out that game 1-0 with the way that the defense was playing. And maybe that's going to be this year. Wouldn't that be crazy, Damian, that this year the Galaxy start winning games 1-0 and everybody, like, it's not even pretty, but they just stay up near the top of the Western Conference the whole time by winning games 1-0. Like, they score a goal and it's over. 2011 was like that, right? The Galaxy would score a goal and you're like, oh, it's over. Game's over. Sorry, guys. didn't know you didn't know it yet, but they haven't been able to grind games out in years since I've been back. So if they can do it now, that'll be a big step forward. Because there are weeks where you got to win games ugly. I mean, yes, 1-0, 2-1. You just got to do ugly stuff to win. Every game can be 3-1, 4-2, whatever. But to learn how to win 1-0, I think that's a big step this team still needs to take. Ricky, by the way, in the chat room, big shout on this too. Glesnes and Hack may be the center back pairing if Garcus doesn't get it together, right? So when you look at the Charlotte game, Cerrillo's back, right? So you expect Cerrillo to possibly be in that 6. It's Hack and Glesnes possibly in against Charlotte. That's an interesting one. I want to see that lineup. I really do. And then that gets Sanabria in there with Cerrillo. Cerrillo seems like he's maybe a little bit more of a forward passer than Hack is. So watch that a little bit. Sanabria, outside of Mitrovic, Alex Ruiz had this stat. Outside of Mitrovic, who had 9 final third balls, right? So Mitrovic just blasting it from the back and putting up, so you can sort of just slide that over to the side. But it was Sanabria who I think had 6 final third balls, was the second one, and then Marco Reus with 5. Those are the guys you want to see putting balls into the final third. But Greg Vanny talked about how the midfield was not working, or at least the defense wasn't getting the ball into the midfield in the right spots, and then they couldn't get sort of free with Paintsel and Peck running onto the ball. So, too much, both in Panama and in this game. Too many balls played to the feet of Paintsel and Peck was something we saw a lot last year. Get these guys running into space and behind. They're fast. New York City didn't have an answer for them, and that's sort of disappointing. Wrap up for the New York City game. Anything else that you wanted to point out, atmosphere wise?
I was great. I thought it 25,000 plus. I thought it had that home opener excitement feel to it. People on the berm.
Yep. Sellout crowd. I want to make sure that we say that, because it was a sellout crowd, which is right around 25,562. I think is a sellout. So anything above that is a sellout.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was good. But yeah, I mean, changes to the stadium. There were a lot of banners, new banners hanging up, right?
Yeah, they have the right over. I think Ride Squad is the most decorated club banner with 6 trophies up there. Driving onto the campus, you see the players' banners hanging on the light poles, whatever. It just felt me. I got there like around 2 o'clock,
right?
And the people are already tailgating. A lot of people are already out in the parking lots.
Nice.
So yeah, it felt like a big opening, season opener. I'm sure the fans would like 3 points, so would the Galaxy, but take the 1 point and move forward, I guess.
The last time the LA Galaxy got a point with a bogus or questionable red card was in 2024 on their opening day, and we all know how that season ended. So maybe that's a sign. Maybe it's not a sign. It was Messi on the other side, though. That's the difference. There was no Messi on that side. So
no Messi, but it was Messi.
It very much was. It very much was. Still question mark for me, and I want to see it answered against San Miguelito on Wednesday night. Again, that game at 8:30 at Dignity Health Sports Park. Get your tickets on FS2 and TUDN. You could watch that game. So you want to go to this game because it's the LA Galaxy advancing. I know it's a Wednesday night at 8:30, but if Damian and I have to be there, you should show up too.
Come on out.
Let's look at
If I got to be there bundled up, you got to be there bundled up too.
100%. That's how it works. The LA Galaxy's February going so far, 2 1-1 draws. That gets them through the 19th to 22nd. Next game against Sporting on the 25th, and then the 28th is Charlotte. That is Saturday, a 7:30 p.m. game. So we can certainly get you there. One of the things that I did is I did start. Hold on, wait, no, don't show that, Josh. How dare you? One of the things I did do is I started revamping some of the charts. And as you know, on this show, we love charts and graphs. And we always turn it over to Mr. Ray Plaza to introduce our charts and graphs.
Bar charts and graphs, bar charts and graphs. Barto's gonna give us our charts and graphs. Bar charts and graphs, bar charts and graphs. Come on, give me those stats.
There we go. So now we're ready for everything. I would like to point out designated player minutes, being that each player all started the game, were available in the game. If we talk about the success of the LA Galaxy being the ability to get designated players into the game, they're currently at 99.3%. There you go. Joao Klaus came off in the 88th minute. Didn't quite get those 90 minutes in, but Joseph Paintsel and Gabriel Peck did. So we're going to watch that as we go along. Home points, getting 1 home point already. Nothing major to look at that, except for the fact that, again, and I'll reiterate that Damian, the LA Galaxy, did only get 1 point in their first 6 games last year. So already 6 times better than last year. As far
ahead of schedule.
Way ahead of schedule. Racking up those points. 1 already. if we go and look, this is, I just always like this. From 1996, we can sort of see how the LA Galaxy did it on home openers in the first game, right? So in 96, they won 3 games, or they won the game. In 2000, they won. 2004, 2002, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2015, 2016, 2018, 2019, 2021, 2022. What can we look at from that? That means absolutely nothing. There is no indication that the first game means anything other than you got through the first game. The LA Galaxy now similar to their 2024 year as we go about that. Just the average points. If the LA Galaxy finished with 1 point, if they finished with 34 points out of 34 games, Damian, they would be better than last year where they only had 0.88 points per game. So already ahead of that schedule as well. Just looking at the months and how they line up, I had to adjust this chart in order to put a game in November, Damian. I was very upset about it because there's one regular season game in November. That being said, you have coming up, you have another game that's on the 28th against Charlotte. These are all just regular season games. March has 3 games, April has 5 games, May has 5 games. No games in June. There's 3 games in July. There are 5 games in August, September, and October, and then you finish out with 1 game in November. I think the first time, or at least it feels like the first time, that the regular season will extend into November. Yeah, that's crazy to me. Standings wise, you don't really have to pay attention too much. Just watch. The LA Galaxy weren't one of the teams that lost, so that's pretty good news for everybody. Currently sitting in 12th place, not 13th. It wasn't 13th, so everybody can relax. All right, not 13th. But currently sitting in 12th place. And if you're really playing the home game, just 2 points away from taking over that top spot. Should all those people also lose the next game, San Diego, LAFC, San Jose, all of which who had massive games, goal differentials of 5, 3, and 3 whenever they played. I will say San Diego and San Jose didn't exactly play world beaters there. Seattle had a quad injury to Jordan Morris early. Portland is an opponent the LA Galaxy are looking forward to here in next month as it goes. Then Dallas got 3 points, Houston got 3 points, Vancouver got 3 points in there. So that's how it sort of lines up. The teams with the draws were Austin, Minnesota, St. Louis, and the LA Galaxy. And then, of course, you get Real Salt Lake, Colorado, and Kansas City. I will say, looking at that, Damian, it does make me feel like the Galaxy really dropped 2 big points. And you can't do that at home. Like, if you want to get a red card, Amiro Garcus, get one on the road, all right? Because those are already hard games to win, the whole deal. But by doing that at home, you ruined a lot of momentum. And we can say that he wasn't he shouldn't have gotten the foul, and it wasn't called on the field and the whole deal. But his first yellow card was stupid, and putting himself in a position in the second one is not smart either. So I would put a lot of sort of weight on that. So that's just some charge. There's one more that I wanted. This is a new one for this year. It's the home and away imbalance. When the number is positive, we're going to say that it's shaded towards the home. So the LA Galaxy have played one more home game than they have away games. The reason we watch this is that a lot of times, because we know that away games have a lower points per game total on average than you would get from home games, that we can sort of gauge whether the LA Galaxy's point total is lagging or if it's ahead, because the more home games you play over the away games, then technically the more points you get. So that's just that. This is only a +1 right now in imbalance. I imagine, looking at some of the games and the dates that are coming up, that you are going to see this swing back a little bit, because there are a bunch of dates coming up that are away game months, right? So coming up still, though, 2 home games for the LA Galaxy in February. In March right now, without any CCC games posted in here, you have a game there's only 3 games, which is great. There's a break in March, in that 3rd week of March, which is good news. But yeah, it's not really a break because they play on Sunday, but it feels like there's no game there for the first time in forever. So we'll watch that. And then there's no game on the 28th or 29th of March. So that's again, just a question mark about how that sort of gets played. But the LA Galaxy away to Colorado and away to Portland with a home game against Kansas City. So something we can watch as we continue on here, Damian, and all that sort of fun stuff. All right. The LA Galaxy Sporting San Miguelito. This is a game that we expect the LA Galaxy to win. 8:30 p.m. is your kickoff time. Again, FS2 and TUDN. Damian, where do you see the LA Galaxy on this game? So that way we can close everything out. Do they comfortably get past this Panamanian side?
Comfortably, I don't know. If you remember, Greg said how tough they were before the first leg, how tough they were to break down, and that sort of proved to be correct. In the first leg. coming home, you would think the Galaxy would, take control of this one and pull it off and have the comfortable win. But are they capable? Are they capable of comfortable wins at this point in the season? That's another question. I think now you just get the win any way you can and just move on. A scoreless draw will move you on, but I think nobody wants to see a scoreless draw, especially at home. But that is a way to get through.
Yeah, it will get the job done. I doubt that game stays scoreless. There should be too much room in it, right? There's going to be the Galaxy are going to look to exploit on the counter. Panama, the sporting side from Panama is going to have to try and create something again. I don't think they can afford, if they let the LA Galaxy dominate possession and just sit back. And I think that could be a game plan forward, like the first half or for 60 minutes, because if you're Sporting San Miguelito, you know that you will lose if you allow the LA Galaxy to score. The longer you can keep it scoreless, the better chance you have of finding something and creating something. And if San Miguelito scores a goal, then and the Galaxy score a goal, it would then be tied on aggregate, right? So a 1-1 would then be tied again. Remember, it's the away goal doesn't count as twos; it's just a tiebreaker. So when you put the two teams into a tie, which the only way it can be tied is 1-1 again. If you put that into a 1-1 tie, then that's that. Then the goals start breaking it. You do that. 1-1 would be tied, which means extra time. If you're playing the home game, which is always fun. So a 1-1 draw on a Wednesday night at 8:30 and playing extra time. I bet you whenever we get there, Damian, this is just a bet between you and I bet you when we get there that Scott comes in and says, I just hope there's not extra time. He's going to mention extra time like within the first 10 minutes of him being there. That's what I'm guessing. So maybe we should over under it. Is it over 10 minutes he mentions extra time or under 10 minutes?
No, first he's going to say, "Why is this game so late?"
Yes. That's
then you're going to be like, "Okay, I hope it doesn't go extra time." Like, dude, shut up.
Yeah. Don't even say it. So anyway, a 2-2, like, so you get into 2-2, just saying, I just want to, for example, if it's a 2-2 game, Sporting would advance because they have two away goals that are the tiebreaker there. So, all right. So any tie outside of 1-1 would go to Sporting San Miguelito. All right. So that's sort of it. I'm sort of with you. I think this is going to be like a 2-0, 3-0 game just because I think that there's going to be too much room. I don't know that it's a 2-0, 3-0 game in the 55th minute. I think it might be a 0-0 game in the 55th minute, right? Just because there's going to be a lot of chess being played in this particular game because Sporting sort of knows how to sit back and absorb and make the LA Galaxy try to break them down. Really interesting to see what Greg Vanney's lineup choices are. Nascimento seems like a good starter for this one. The fact that they don't have two forwards, like they did in the first leg, starting Christian Ramirez and Nascimento, now that Ramirez is no longer on the team, that's a question mark for me, how they line up. I think otherwise you're looking at guys like Aude in there again. I think you could see a lot of Sanabria. There's a lot of injuries right now in the midfield. Eric Tommy, Elijah Winder. Who else is there? Oh, Surreal was suspended. So Surreal plays in this game. Yeah, so Surreal plays in the game.
Isaiah Parente was out as well.
And Parente was out as well. Yeah. That's a mid. So, Sanabria is going to have to play again. So he should get ready for that. Surreal is going to play in this game. He's there. Hack and Glesnes in the back is actually a really good shout. You could see Maya Yoshida starting in there as well with Glesnes. I'd be interested to watch that again.
Yeah. And I think Nelson probably comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nelson comes in. Didn't play Sunday.
Right. Marcinkowski's probably the goalkeeper. I think that.
Nelson did come in. He came in late.
He came in late. He did.
Yeah, came in late. Yeah.
But I think Marcinkowski gets a goalkeeper nod again. So I think that sort of sets you up. I think Klaus can come in. I think that Royce might be able to come in. I think you're trying not to. If you're the LA Galaxy, you want to score 3 goals in the first 15 minutes and then just shut it down.
Market.
Yeah, so you don't have to use anybody else that you don't want to, right? Yeah. You're sort of like, okay. And then Greg Vanney, this is the thing that happened in 2024 that the LA Galaxy need to take advantage of this year is getting results, Damian. Getting results early in the game to allow you to plan for the next, because you can start setting your lineup for Charlotte depending on what happens in the first 45 minutes against, Sporting San Miguelito. So, that's where I'm sort of looking at to see, because you don't want to run Paintsel, you don't want to run Peck, you want to make changes to guys who will put a lot of minutes on their legs, and you can't do that if you're not winning.
Yeah, exactly. Get a 3-goal lead. bring on Ruben Ramos and Harbor Miller, Tucker Lefty, and let them close the game out and try to get Peck and Paints off their feet for a little bit.
Yeah, by the way, shout out to chat room, 100%. I think you see Garcus in there, so putting Hack, and maybe you don't play Hack because he played a lot of minutes in the game against New York City. So you put Garcus in at there because he's suspended for the next MLS game. You might as well rotate guys and do the whole thing. Now, if he gets a yellow card in this, I don't care what time it is, Greg Van Een's has to pull him out. You got to, all right? It doesn't matter. So, possibly Garcus Yoshida. Why not? We've seen that a lot, and I think they're comfortable with each other. So, there's flexibility on the defensive side. There's not much in the midfield right now. And then at striker, you have Nascimento. So, again, I think he starts. You can bring Klaus off the bench. But Sanabria probably has to play, unless you want to start Tucker Lepley. You could do that.
I'm always in the Tucker Lepley fan club. But, I think just to get Sanabria more minutes, just to get him off on the right track coming off of last year, just to keep throwing him out there. You just keep throwing him out there and let him get that good feeling. Stacking up good games from one game to another. Just keep running them out there. Yeah,
I'm interested to see it. All right, we'll see you out at the stadium on Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Traffic will be bad. It's that's one nice thing about the 8:30 p.m. You can wait a little bit and you won't be stuck in traffic. Not Damian and I will both be stuck in traffic going to the. You don't live that far away.
I'm not stuck in traffic. I would never get stuck in traffic going to a Galaxy game.
You could walk to the Galaxy game and make it in on time. You'd be fine.
I would never walk either.
Yeah, why would I do that? That's craziness. So no, certainly let's watch and see how the LA goes. A must advance game. I'll say that. Not a must win, but a must advance game. Got to figure out a way to get it done. So we'll watch that as that goes on, and then of course we'll be back on Thursday night to get you ready for the Saturday game against Charlotte as the LA Galaxy close out sort of this 3-game homestand and end the month of February. All right, Damian. Anything else you want to share about the LA Galaxy? Any plug that you have for any articles you wrote or anything like that? Where do you want to go? And I'll just say, tell people where they can find you, and you can plug that as well. So go for it.
What I got coming? I got to preview the Champions Cup.
Okay.
LA Daily News tomorrow afternoon, and then right back at it for Saturday. Preview for Saturday, then a gamer on Saturday. Looking forward to Sunday. There's no Galaxy games.
No Galaxy games. No. Always good. Get to shut it down for a little bit. That's good. Awesome. Follow at Damian Calhoun on all the social media, and please go over to the Southern California News Group anywhere that you can find their stuff. You'll find Damian's stuff in there. It's all the time.
Yeah.
So please support him when you can. If you're looking for me on any of the social media, it's at Galaxy Podcast, cornerofthegalaxy.com, and anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find Corner of the Galaxy, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, any of those places. Type in Corner of the Galaxy. All right, we'll be there at the game on Wednesday, and then we will be back on Thursday to get you ready for another game on Saturday. Quick round. Here we go. The LA Galaxy buckled in for 2 more games, Concacaf Champions Cup and MLS regular season. For Mr. Damian Calhoun, who's filling in for Mr. Kevin Baxter, I am Josh Pato Guesman, and you've been listening, you've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy from the box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.